Welcome to my portfolio. I'm Daniel Ripley Betts, and I just want to thank you for taking a brief 5 minutes here to take a look at it with me. In the background of this first screen, we can see the schematic for a MIPS 32 based processor that I was a part of the team designing. And it wasn't novel, but it was a significant challenge, but there's more on that later. Along the top here, you can see the navigation bar, which has Home, About, Portfolio, EDU Reflections, and Contact. We'll get to those later. Scrolling down on this first home page here, we can see about this portfolio, some background, and some tips for navigating it, along with some previews of the projects to come. They each link to the projects themselves. Down further, we can see a brief about me, links to the actual about me in more detail. And then at the very bottom here, we can see some contact information, as well as a form directly on the page to reach out to me if you feel so inclined. But let's move on to that About Me page. Here at the top, you can see a photo with me in the background of 4 people involved in several Apollo missions. From left to right, we got Jerry Griffin as the flight director for several Apollo missions, Al Worden as the pilot for Apollo 15. We got Fred Hayes as the lunar module commander for Apollo 13. And last but not least, we've got Walt Cunningham as the lunar module pilot for Apollo 7. And going down a little bit, we've got some brief tidbits about me. Hopefully we didn't get too sidetracked there. Some information about my personal life, educational aspirations, as well as hobbies and interests. Don't ignore the fact that you can also get my resume here, just one click to download. We've got some pictures of hobbies and personal relations here. In the portfolio tab next, we've got my portfolio gallery along the top. Each photo links to the actual portfolio page. And each portfolio entry will have a title, some pictures or a video, a brief description, as well as a fine-grained reflection on what was covered in that project. In this first project, we can see the Tiva Roomba iCreate powered delivery bot, and the Roomba iCreate platform was built on using the Tiva. The Tiva would control the Roomba, and we would interface with it directly as well as with a remote user interface, and it could control itself through the use of a ping and sonar sensor. Along the bottom of each page, we've got the Start a Project Today option, if you feel so inclined. Scrolling back up here, though, we've got the next project in line, which is actually my senior design project, creating a millimeter wavelength based scanner using a Voron motion system as the motion system for the printer. Pardon the redundancy. We titled it the Mavinator, short for Millimeter Wavelength Armed Voron Scanner. And I was part of a team of 4 on that. Much in the same with the Roomba iCreate project. Here you can see photos as well as links, and this page is a little different because it's got links to the GitLab containing the code for the UI, Lightning Talks link, which will take you to a drive containing all of our Lightning Talks on different aspects of the design, the design document itself, which contains all the relevant information should you try to attempt this project yourself, as well as the Sabur Voron Git, which has information like the manual, as well as how to build a Voron yourself and the parts necessary. And the last Iowa State project that we will be talking about, as mentioned earlier, is the MIPS architecture-based pipelined 32-bit CPU. This was somewhat of a capstone for my educational pursuits at Iowa State University, designing a MIPS-based 32-bit processor in a team of 3, And on this page you can see a couple different Figma drawings of the schematics, as well as some test readouts. Moving on, I guess back in time, we're going on to the project I worked on while going to DMAC. It's the L-Space Mission Concept Academy, done through NASA and the University of Arizona. I was part of a team of, I believe, 11, and not all of them wound up seeing the project to completion, but we developed some great bonds, and I learned a lot about interpersonal communication and the research involved in such a large-scale project. We were trying to design a lander to find water on the permanently shadowed regions of the moon's craters. And you can get a link to the full preliminary design review, and a bulk of the project is explained in this video. And last but not least, my personal project that I started this summer before my senior year is the 3D printed first-person view drone, with the plans to develop it into a autonomous flying drone. I started building a drone using pre-configured flight controllers and electronic speed controllers. I learned a lot about soldering along the way. And that's it for the projects. Moving on to the EDU reflections, we have my reflection on ethics in engineering, my reflection on general education and how it applies to more than just the material covered in coursework, and my cumulative reflection on my education in computer engineering at Iowa State University. And last but not least, we have one more opportunity to contact me should you get this far, with once again a form built into the page to reach out if you feel so inclined. But that's my portfolio. I thank you again for taking the time. I'm Daniel Ripley Betts. Goodbye.